Part 1. After retirement. Never give these things to your children, especially after 70. As we step into our later years, the way we view life, family, and the role we play within it often undergoes a dramatic shift. Retirement should be a time to relax, enjoy the rewards of decades of hard work, and reflect on the journey we've taken. But for some, this period can also be marked by unexpected challenges, emotionally, financially, and relationally. Mr. John Thompson's story is one of those challenges. Take a moment and imagine this. You've spent your entire life working to provide your children with everything you could: education, opportunities, support, and yet, in your later years, you find yourself feeling unappreciated and neglected by those same children. This is exactly the dilemma that Mr. Thompson, a retired civil servant, found himself in, alongside his wife. He had always been the model of a devoted parent, making countless sacrifices to give their children the best. But now, as they approached their retirement, something had changed. Mr. Thompson and his wife had done everything by the book: stable government jobs, good salaries, and a retirement fund that left them comfortably set up for the future. Together, their monthly pension adds up to over $5,000. They should be living comfortably, and in many ways, they are. But what sets their story apart is this: they have never given their children a single dollar since they retired. While many parents are eager to lend a financial hand to their grown-up children, Mr. Thompson and his wife have resolutely refused. Why? What led them to make such a surprising decision? What were they thinking? Especially considering their financial security? The answer is not as simple as it may seem. To understand why Mr. Thompson chose to prioritize his independence over supporting his children financially, we need to delve deeper into their family dynamics. His decision challenges the conventional expectations of what a parent should do for their children, and offers valuable lessons for anyone facing similar struggles in their retirement years. Let's explore Mr. Thompson's story to uncover the reasons behind this unusual choice, and how it can provide insights into the complex emotional and financial decisions that retirees often face. Mr. John Thompson shares, "I'm 72 years old and retired 12 years ago. My wife is 5 years younger than me, and she's also been retired for over a decade. Both of us worked in public sector jobs, so our monthly pensions total more than $5,000. With this steady income, we live comfortably, enjoying the luxuries and the freedom to travel as we please. After working so hard for half of our lives, we believe retirement is for relaxation and enjoyment. While we live comfortably, we've never spent a cent on our children." Some people have asked if, with such a high pension, we don't have some extra money to support our children. After all, today's youth are struggling, and shouldn't parents help out? But my wife and I prefer to keep our savings for ourselves. Even if the money loses its value over time, we'd rather hold on to it than give it away to our kids. Mr. Thompson continues, "Our actions aren't thoughtless. We've been watching the behavior of our 2 sons, and frankly, it's left us cold. My wife and I have experienced our own struggles in life, and we understand the pain of poverty. When our situation improved due to our public sector careers, we cared for and loved our sons deeply, but we also established limits. We've never hesitated to spend on what's necessary, but we've always been firm about refusing unnecessary expenditures. Perhaps it's because of my own upbringing and my balanced, moderate approach to parenting that our sons excelled academically. They were always diligent in their studies, entered prestigious universities, graduated, secured jobs in major cities, and started their own families. Everything seemed to go smoothly for them. People admired how well we raised our children. Our sons became successful office workers in big cities, thriving in their careers. Still, despite their success, my wife and I did much to help them build their families and careers. After our eldest son graduated from college, we arranged for him to work at a state-owned company through a connection. When he married, we helped him with the down payment for a house, about $10,000. Later, when he bought a car, we supported him with $5,000. Our younger son, who had a rare college major, faced difficulties finding a job after graduation. We paid for him to attend additional courses. He didn't have a stable job until he was nearly 30. When he married, his wife was from a different province. So we spent over $5,000 on the dowry. In addition, we bought homes for both of our sons, using up nearly all of the savings we had built over the course of our lives. Mr. Thompson adds, after they both had children of their own, my wife and I retired early to help take care of them. My wife retired at 50 to care for our eldest grandson, and I retired at 60 to look after our granddaughter. It wasn't until the children went to school that we finally had time to rest. We gave everything for our sons, sacrificing much of our lives in the process. We thought that, with all our unconditional sacrifices, they would take care of us in our old age. But in the end, what we received wasn't gratitude, but rather an expectation that we would continue to support them. Generally, where there are elderly parents, there's supposed to be a home, and children should visit often. But our sons are different. They rarely come home during the holidays and almost never call. Our eldest son lives only 300 miles away, just a 4-hour drive. But he only visits once a year, usually around the Lunar New Year. Every time he comes empty-handed and leaves with gifts. I remember one year, while the neighbor's children brought large gift bags for their parents, our eldest son came in his SUV but only brought 2 sets of clothes for me and my wife, no New Year gifts. While other children gave red envelopes to their parents on New Year's Eve, our eldest son never did. Only the grandchildren had the decency to give us red envelopes before the year ended. Before he left, our eldest son always took all the New Year's items we prepared for his family. I remember one year, he didn't bring anything for us. I was so frustrated that I spoke up. He responded, "You guys are getting old. You don't eat much anymore. It's a waste to leave food at home." Even worse, our youngest son demanded more. When we bought a house for him, he demanded money to buy a car. When he asked, he spoke as though we were his children. He bluntly said, "Dad, I want to buy a car. Send me $70,000 now." Immediately, I was deeply offended by his entitled attitude, as if I were the one asking him for money. So I refused, even though we could afford it. I didn't like the way he asked, especially since he already had a car. Buying another one seemed wasteful. After he couldn't get the money for the car, he tried asking for money again for home repairs or to start a business, each time asking for tens of thousands of dollars. But I saw through his intentions and only gave him small amounts each time. To my surprise, because I didn't give him all that he wanted, he began treating us poorly, as if we had done something wrong. Every time he came home, he was cold and indifferent. He would eat and leave quickly. Even when we tried to keep him around longer, he flatly refused, saying it wasn't comfortable at home. Over time, Mr. Thompson reflects, the actions of our 2 sons have left us more and more distant from them. 4 years ago, my wife had to be hospitalized for joint degeneration. Although we covered the surgery and treatment costs, my wife hoped the children would come to visit. But neither of them came. They avoided us as though visiting would cost them something. They only called to ask how we were, with no real concern. The treatment was simple, but it hurt my wife deeply, not because of the physical pain, but because of the emotional toll. While other patients had their children by their side, we only had each other, and it was truly heartbreaking. Later, when my wife was still recovering, I accidentally fell and broke my leg. That time, my wife couldn't take care of me because of her back issues. I wanted our 2 sons to help, but they kept making excuses. One said he was busy with work. The other said he wasn't feeling well. Even after I explained how serious my condition was, they both said they couldn't come. Feeling helpless, I had to hire a caregiver. During my recovery, through the grandchildren, I found out that our eldest son had taken his family on a beach vacation, and our youngest son had gone mountain climbing. Knowing this only hurt me more than the physical pain. After all the events they've been through, Mr. John Thompson reflects thoughtfully, saying, "A lot of people have asked me whether we still feel the need to save money for our children. Over time, my wife and I have come to the conclusion that it's not worth it. We've stopped relying on them and no longer expect anything from them in our old age. We decided to hold on tightly to our savings, not giving a penny to our kids. Even in times of crisis, we'll keep enough money for ourselves to manage through old age. If it comes to the point where we can no longer take care of ourselves, we'll go into a retirement home. Sure, a nursing home lacks the warmth of family, but I believe that paying for good care will be more comfortable than depending on our children. Perhaps Mr. Thompson's situation is rare, but it's not unheard of in today's society. Human relationships have become fragile, almost like a piece of paper that can tear with the slightest strain. The concept of family ties isn't what it used to be. Especially now, young people are often more focused on personal freedom and indulgence, leaving little room for the kind of filial piety that used to define family structures. So, as we age, it becomes more critical to hold on to our savings for our own future. If our children face hardship, of course, we should help them, but we must know our limits. Life is about self-reliance, and our children must learn to face their own challenges too. We can help, but only to a reasonable extent. Mr. Thompson continues, many elderly people often think about helping their children raise their grandchildren once they retire. But nowadays, young people prefer to raise their children on their own, not wanting their parents to interfere. Without grandchildren to look after, old age can feel a bit lonely and monotonous. If you have a sufficient pension, life is still manageable. But if not, that's when worry about finances creeps in. I've met many older folks in their 60s who are still active and working. They've got a few more years of energy to give before truly retiring. So what kind of work is best for retirees? Today, I want to share 4 types of work that retirees like me can get involved in. 1. The first type of job, community security guard. In today's world, many community security guards are retirees. If you've stepped into retirement and still feel fit and active, becoming a community security guard could be a perfect fit. A few months ago, I had a conversation with my neighbor, Richard, who retired from his job as an accountant 5 years ago. Now, he spends his days working as a part-time security guard at a local residential complex. He told me, it's not a glamorous job, but it gives me purpose, and I get to stay active. I get paid to sit in a small office, watch the entrance, and greet residents. It's peaceful, and I enjoy the quiet. Community security work is one of those hidden gems for retirees. Many elderly individuals in their 60s and 70s take on such roles, as it allows them to remain engaged, while maintaining a sense of responsibility and connection with the outside world. Richard's story is far from unique. He and a few others in my neighborhood have found a comfortable routine where they interact with people in the community, check in on the building, and perform simple tasks like letting residents in or answering minor inquiries. However, not all security jobs are created equal. When considering this type of work, it's important to choose the right environment. For example, high-end residential complexes may be strict about hiring older workers due to their often demanding requirements and the physical nature of some duties. These places might prefer younger candidates or those with more experience. On the other hand, middle to lower income communities can offer more opportunities for retirees to find roles that match their lifestyle. Still, there are some challenges to consider. Many community security jobs require working night shifts, which can be a tough adjustment for someone who's used to a more relaxed schedule. My uncle, Henry, tried his hand at being a night guard after he retired from his career as a mechanic. While he found the job manageable during the day, the night shifts were exhausting. It's quiet, sure, but staying awake all night is no easy task at my age, he confessed. If you're planning to work as a night security guard, you'll need to be prepared for the physical strain of irregular hours. For those interested in this line of work, a great way to start is by asking around in your local community or through connections. If you don't have any direct connections, reaching out to property management offices is a good place to begin. They often have openings, and they may even prefer hiring someone who lives nearby for convenience. Ultimately, the key to success in community security work as a retiree is flexibility and maintaining a positive attitude. The work might not be physically demanding, but the responsibility and opportunity to engage with others can make it an enjoyable and rewarding experience. You get to stay active, help keep the neighborhood safe, and make some extra income, all while giving you something to look forward to each day. 2. The second type of job, providing elderly care and companionship. Patricia, 52 years old, retired 2 years ago with a monthly pension of $1.500. Her husband had passed away years ago, and her daughter, Emily, was pursuing a master's degree out of state. Despite her good health, Patricia felt unfulfilled by the routine tasks like working in a grocery store or managing a retail job. After years of corporate work, she longed for something more meaningful. One afternoon, while sitting on a park bench, Patricia ran into George, an elderly man who lived alone. His daughter, Sarah, had moved across the country, leaving him to manage life independently, though George was still capable of taking care of himself. He confessed that the loneliness weighed on him, and he didn't want to burden his daughter with his daily needs. He had considered hiring a caregiver but felt it wasn't necessary. Instead, he wanted someone who could assist with cooking and light housekeeping. That conversation sparked an idea in Patricia. She realized many seniors, like George, might be in a similar situation, living independently but needing help with basic tasks and companionship. Inspired by this, Patricia decided to offer services tailored to meet the needs of elderly residents in her neighborhood. Patricia started by offering homemade meals to elderly neighbors. She posted a flyer offering to prepare meals based on their preferences and dietary needs. The response was overwhelming. Within a day, she received calls from the children of 3 elderly residents seeking help for their parents. Patricia began delivering the meals personally, creating connections with her clients and quickly realizing that many of them also craved companionship, not just food. Seeing the growing demand, Patricia expanded her services. She began offering housekeeping and even accompanying seniors to medical appointments. The feedback was positive, and Patricia found that many seniors not only needed physical assistance, but also wanted someone to talk to and share their stories with. As Patricia spent more time with her clients, she learned the profound importance of empathy and human connection. Many elderly people felt forgotten by their families, and the simple act of having someone to listen to them meant the world. Patricia learned that offering emotional support, whether through a conversation or sharing a meal, was just as important as meeting their physical needs. After 6 months, Patricia realized the potential to turn her efforts into something bigger. She invited a few retired colleagues to join her in providing similar services, creating a small team of caregivers who could offer both practical and emotional support to seniors in their community. Together, they formed a tight-knit network that not only met the immediate needs of the elderly, but also provided a sense of belonging and comfort. Patricia's venture became more than just a job. It became a fulfilling way to make a difference in the lives of others while also enriching her own. By combining caregiving with companionship, she was able to offer a comprehensive service that filled a gap in her community. Patricia's story highlights how retirement doesn't have to mean slowing down. It can be an opportunity to make meaningful connections and create a supportive environment for those in need. 3. A third type of job, opening a small vendor stall. For retirees looking for a way to stay active and earn a bit of extra income, opening a small vendor stall could be an ideal option. Take Jake, a retired teacher from Ohio, who loved gardening. After years of growing more produce than he could eat, he decided to share his bounty with the community. With some savings and a small loan from his daughter, Jake set up a small stand at the local farmers market, selling fresh, organic vegetables. While his initial sales were slow, Jake enjoyed the connection with his customers and the satisfaction of seeing people appreciate the produce he worked hard to grow. For him, the business wasn't about making a fortune, but about enjoying the process and contributing to the community. The flexibility of owning his own small business gave Jake the freedom to work on his own terms, without the pressure of a traditional job. However, starting a vendor stall isn't without its risks. There are upfront costs for the stand, equipment, and supplies, and it may take some time to see a profit. It's important to consider the financial investment and market demand before diving in. For Jake, the investment was manageable, but for some retirees with a tighter budget, the risk might feel too great. Marie, Jake's neighbor, had a different approach. She also loved gardening but didn't have the funds to invest in a full vendor stall. Instead, she started making homemade jams and preserves from her garden's fruit. She sold them at local craft fairs and farmers markets, which required much less initial investment. Marie's business grew steadily, and her products were well loved by her customers. The appeal of running a small vendor stall lies in the flexibility it offers. Unlike traditional jobs with set hours, small business owners can choose when and where to work. Jake, for instance, could set up his stall in the mornings and still have time to enjoy his afternoons. Marie, on the other hand, worked at her own pace, creating jams when she had the time and selling them when it was convenient. That said, the business isn't without challenges. Weather can affect sales, and competition can be fierce. Jake faced slow sales on rainy days, but he used that time to improve his gardening techniques and explore new recipes. Marie expanded her product line with seasonal flavors, which helped her attract more customers. For retirees with a bit of extra savings, starting a small vendor stall can be a rewarding way to stay engaged and earn extra income. But it's important to approach it with realistic expectations, as it may take time before profits come in. Ultimately, the satisfaction comes not just from the financial rewards, but from building relationships with customers and feeling connected to the community. In conclusion, Jake and Marie found purpose and joy in their small businesses. While the financial returns may not be immediate, the personal satisfaction and flexibility made it worth the effort. Opening a small vendor stall can be a great way for retirees to stay active, independent, and engaged in the community, all while earning a bit of extra money. 4. A fourth type of job, dishwasher in a restaurant. After retirement, many people, especially women, look for ways to stay active and earn some extra income. While jobs like security or manual labor may not be suitable, other options, such as working as a dishwasher, can be a great fit. Take Linda, a retired office worker from Michigan, who found a fulfilling job as a dishwasher in a local diner. The job allowed her to work during lunch and dinner hours, leaving her plenty of time for relaxation and personal activities afterward. Though the pay was modest, Linda found that the job provided enough income to cover her expenses while giving her a sense of independence. Her experience shows that, for retirees, financial security is crucial. While a high-paying job may not always be possible, small, consistent earnings can offer stability. Linda's role wasn't without challenges. The work was physically demanding, especially during peak hours, but it kept her active and engaged with the community. She enjoyed the camaraderie with the kitchen staff and chatting with regular customers. Although dishwashing is not a glamorous job, Linda appreciated the routine and the connection it provided to others. Many retirees find jobs like dishwashing or housekeeping in hotels to be ideal because they offer flexibility and a chance to earn extra income without a long-term commitment. These jobs also help prevent the isolation that many retirees experience. However, it's important to choose work that aligns with one's health and energy levels. Overworking can lead to stress and health issues, so finding a balance is key. For retirees, maintaining financial independence is essential for peace of mind. Having enough money to meet basic needs allows for confidence and security, but it's also important to avoid overextending yourself. Retirement should be about balance, finding a job that provides financial support without overwhelming your lifestyle. Linda's story demonstrates that living simply and within your means can be just as rewarding as seeking luxury. It's not about having excess wealth, but about finding joy in the small, everyday moments. For many retirees, contentment comes from the basics: a steady income, meaningful work, and the ability to enjoy life without financial worry. In conclusion, jobs like dishwashing or housekeeping can be perfect for retirees who need extra income and want to stay active. These positions may not be glamorous, but they provide the independence and connection retirees need, while offering financial stability without adding stress. Balancing work and personal life is essential to a fulfilling retirement. Part 2. Don't live with your children. In your golden years, as we age, the question arises, should we live with our children when we grow older? Or should we pursue our own dreams and maintain independence? Meet Janet, a 62-year-old woman who decided to break free from tradition. After her husband's passing and a decade of solitude, she moved in with her son, Mark, and his wife, Olivia, hoping to find companionship and support in her later years. But instead of the comfort and closeness she imagined, she found herself caught in an endless cycle of unpaid labor and unappreciated sacrifices that made her retirement feel more like a life sentence than a well-earned break. Faced with this harsh reality, Janet made a decision that not only surprised her family, but also inspired many others. This is her story of resilience, rediscovery, and the pursuit of happiness at any age. Let's dive into Janet's experience. When my husband passed away 10 years ago, I thought I would find comfort in the idea of my family being there for me. After all, I was in my early 60s, and retirement was supposed to be a time to relax, travel, and enjoy life. But my son, Mark, was worried that I might feel isolated, so he invited me to come live with him and Olivia. It seemed like the perfect solution at the time. I could be close to family, and they could take care of me. First, Janet's life with Mark and Olivia seemed like a fresh start. Olivia was welcoming at first. She'd often encourage me to take it easy, suggesting I go out for walks, meet with my old friends, or even take dance classes. For the first few months, I felt like I was living in a golden bubble, but that bubble soon burst. As time passed, Janet began to notice subtle but significant changes in the dynamics of their household. Olivia started asking me to help out with small things around the house, first with the cleaning, then with preparing meals, and eventually, I found myself doing all the housework and caring for their 2 young children. It wasn't that I minded helping out, but it wasn't the retirement I had envisioned. Janet had always dreamed of a quiet, peaceful life after her career ended. She had imagined spending her days gardening in her own backyard, strolling through the local park, and enjoying cups of tea with friends. But instead, she became a full-time, unpaid housekeeper and caregiver. This was supposed to be my time to breathe, to reconnect with myself, to do all the things I put off for years. But here I was, stuck in an endless loop of household chores, never able to have a moment for myself. It was like I had traded one job for another. But this time, there was no paycheck at the end of the week. One evening, as Janet was tidying up after dinner, Mark and Olivia casually mentioned that they were planning a weekend getaway and needed her to stay home and watch the kids. Janet was taken aback. It was like they didn't even think about how I might feel. I was the one left holding the fort while they went off to enjoy themselves. I couldn't understand how they didn't see that I had my own needs. Whenever I wanted to visit a friend or take a break, there was always something else waiting for me. I felt like I had lost my voice in my own home. After a sleepless night reflecting on her situation, Janet realized that she couldn't keep living like this. She had to reclaim her life. I've always been independent, and I refused to let my old age be defined by living for others. So, I made the decision to leave. I told Mark and Olivia I needed some time away to visit an old friend in another state. Of course, they were upset. Olivia accused me of being irresponsible, of neglecting my duties as a grandmother. But I wasn't going to let them guilt-trip me into staying. I packed my bags and left. Janet returned to her childhood home in the countryside, the place where she had always imagined retiring. I moved back into my small, cozy house. Just as I had always dreamed, I started gardening again, and I even adopted a dog from the shelter. Every day was filled with little joys that I had missed for so long. I finally had time to relax and reconnect with my friends. My life was mine again. But Janet's decision didn't come without its challenges. The guilt started to creep in. Mark and Olivia were upset, and they didn't understand why I had made such a drastic choice. But I realized that my happiness mattered too. I had given so much of myself for years, first to my children, then to my husband, and now, it was time for me to take care of me. Janet's journey is a testament to the profound strength and resilience of the human spirit. Her decision to leave her son's home and reclaim her independence was not merely an act of rebellion, but a bold declaration of her right to live life on her own terms. This courageous act defied traditional expectations placed upon aging parents, challenging the notion that their sole purpose is to serve their children endlessly. As Janet packed her belongings and returned to her hometown, she wasn't just leaving behind a life of unpaid caregiving. She was stepping into a new chapter filled with promise and personal fulfillment. Her story resonates deeply with older individuals who often feel torn between family obligations and their own desires for personal happiness. What Janet's journey highlights is the crucial importance of setting boundaries and prioritizing one's own well-being. Even when faced with societal pressures and family expectations, returning to live alone, Janet discovered the freedom she had longed for. She spent her days dancing in the park, caring for a small dog, and tending to her vegetable garden. These simple pleasures, which she had once only dreamed of, had now become her reality. Janet reconnected with old friends, sharing laughter and stories over cups of tea, savoring the richness of life she had reclaimed. Janet's experience serves as a powerful reminder that it is never too late to pursue happiness and personal fulfillment. Her story urges each of us to reflect on the quality of our own lives and the choices we make. It calls on older generations to stand firm in their right to live independently and joyfully, refusing to bear the weight of unacknowledged sacrifices. In a world where aging often comes with diminishing expectations and increasing demands, Janet's story is a beacon of hope and inspiration. It reminds us that self-respect and personal happiness are invaluable, and that every individual, regardless of age, deserves to live a life filled with joy, purpose, and dignity. Let Janet's story inspire you to reclaim your happiness and live boldly, with no regrets and full freedom. If you feel motivated by this story and ready to take action in your own life, leave a 9 in the comments. If not, drop a 0. Your feedback is important to us. And if you want more stories like Janet's, subscribe to our channel for weekly doses of inspiration, empowerment, and life-changing insights. Thank you for spending your valuable time with us.